Welcome, everyone. Appreciate you all attending and coming. We decided we're going to completely riff on the title of this thing anyway and just talk about where's the money and how do you get finance, because I think that's maybe a little bit more of interest. We will passingly touch the title we've got here. Let's start with, we've got a real mix: family office, late stage, early stage, angel, corporate venture. So we've got a mix of places where the money comes from. So let's start with where the money comes from. What's their perspective? What are they looking for in companies they invest in? So let's just kind of start randomly down the aisle. Tom, why don't you take that one?
All right, great. Thank you, Alan. And also like to thank Scott Pantel and LSI. And I'm with K2X Technology and Life Science, formerly called Keto. And I'll also say that Scott Pantel is one of our investor shareholders. And that's the idea, is to find really amazing people, experts in their field. And we all join together. We've all become part of K2X. We're all shareholders. We have our own money, our own skin in the game. We pool that money together, and then we invest it. And rather than trying to pick out one or two rocket ships that are taking off, we'll invest in a lot of ones that are on the launch pad, getting in the seed stage, finding the companies, working with people like Alan at Life Science Angels and other groups, because we don't have enough money to do it ourselves. So we want to partner, we want to syndicate, and once you've got a concept, to take it to the next level, where you can go and get your FDA approval and then go after venture capitalists, which is a whole different world.
Shubhra, you're on the other end of the scale here. How about from you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can send all those companies after they get their FDA approval to me. So I am leading the health tech practice at a family office called Tarsadia Investments. We actually have an office here in Newport Beach. So if you don't want to leave the location, we manage about $2.9 billion in invested assets. Today, we typically invest Series A to growth stages. In the medical device and diagnostics world, that would mean post-FDA clearance, essentially, and close to commercialization, if not already in commercialization. Yeah, we like to partner with companies across different stages, as long as the regulatory risk has been de-risked. Check sizes vary broadly, ranging from 5 to 50 million, everything in between. Yeah, delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Tyler, what do family offices do?
I'm still figuring it out myself. No, we're a small family office, Wanke family. We are a single family office, so we're investing our own money, not unlike angel groups as well. We tend to be pretty flexible in terms of what we can do, which is sort of a neat thing about family offices. We can get in really early, and actually we commonly do get in pretty early, so we'll be early money in on like a seed round and follow a company through Series A, Series B. A lot of our ventures, when we get in early, take a long time, so it is the long haul, and we're prepared to do that. Sort of interestingly, though, we're also willing to go for really short turnarounds and such for companies where we're coming in and exit is expected really shortly, and it may not be the type of return that a venture group might be interested in, but from an IRR perspective, it's really interesting to us. So we did an investment that sold last year, and we were just in that Series B round for like a year, and it was a 3X, and maybe to some groups it wouldn't have been as interesting. To us, it was pretty interesting. So we invest across the spectrum, usually up to about $1 million per company.
And Katerina, corporate venture, which was a big lifesaver here in the last 5-8 years, as they've really stepped in, as particularly in Medtech, as a lot of the traditional Medtech VCs fell along the side of the road. Corporate VC really leaned in, and Philips is a good example.
Yeah, so as a corporate VC, we are strategic. We only do strategic investments, and which grants a question, of course, what is strategic for Philips? The other day I was asked, do we represent as ventures Philips Healthcare or the other part of Philips? So this one is easy. Philips is only healthcare, so I know there is different knowledge of Philips in the group, in the audience here. So yes, Philips is in healthcare. But if you go a level deeper, what is in healthcare that we fund, then think of our customer. Our customer is hospitals and clinicians. So what do they need? And if you think of their today's needs, it's not only devices, it's not only instruments, it's imaging, it's predictive analytics, it's software solutions, it's services in healthcare. So it's quite a broad spectrum. And I, of course, can go deeper to, to unpeel this onion and talk about 6 different businesses that Philips has in healthcare and what our needs in remote patient monitoring, what our needs in artificial intelligence. But I will probably go beyond 2-minute limit from Alan. So I probably will stop here and then we can unravel it during the conversation.
Great. So everyone knows the importance of a lead, right? You're raising money and you're trying to get a round put together, and the first thing that everybody wants to know is who's in, who's leading, how's it priced, and that's the linchpin for whether or not you're going to be able to raise a round or not raise a round. So let's drill down on that. Do you lead? Will you price a deal? What size round are you looking for, and how much of that round will you put in? Katerina, let's start with you.
Yes, so we invest across all stages, and round sizes also differ a lot. So we invested in convertible notes, 1 million size, as well as 100 million Series B, Series C rounds. So it's really across the spectrum, and we really invest into something that is strategically relevant for Philips. And besides that, I should say that we also are looking at every investment we do for it to stand on its own ground as a sound financial investment. So it needs to be...
Will you lead?
In some cases, we will lead, but mostly we co-lead. We do take board seats, we do take observer seats, but very rarely we price the round, very rarely we lead, usually co-lead. And we like working with a syndicate.
All right, let's answer the questions here now. Tyler, will you lead?
Yes, no, we will, but most likely we won't price around. We feel pretty comfortable helping structure convertibles like safes and convertible notes for a pre-seed, for a bridge round, and we feel comfortable doing that and do that a lot of the time. Less likely to actually lead a formal priced round just because we don't have a bunch of full-time people working for us.
Terrific. Shubhra.
Yeah, we are on the other end of the spectrum. We typically only like to lead. We insist on pricing the round, or at least being part of the conversation. We want to set the terms. We always want to take a board seat. And part of the reason is that we have a full vertical health tech team. And we only invest we're very thematically driven, invest in spaces that we feel we have a differentiated insight on and have done some work on, and feel pretty confident in our ability to price.
Great.
Yeah, this is great to see the contrast here, because we never lead. It's our policy never to lead. We invest early when it's high risk. We always want somebody else, like these guys, to go out, do the homework, dig in deep, find out where your flaws are, document them, and then we will come along and we have 200 shareholders, 100 experts in different fields. We call that our second round of vetting. And so we wait until somebody's set the deal terms, how's the due diligence. Sometimes we'll cooperate on due diligence if there's things that we like as well, or point people to people we partner with. We always partner with other angel groups, other investors, and then we will decide whether we join the round or not.
So I think the other guys he was referring to as Life Science Angels. So I'm also the chairman and co-founder of Life Science Angels. Obviously, we only invest in life science companies. We will lead. We will follow. We do extensive due diligence. We will price rounds, and we're more than happy to go into other people's price rounds as well. Being first money in is not for the faint of heart. Everybody wants to be the last million in. Nobody wants to be the first million in. So you've got to kind of deal with that. But let's take head on the whole concept of long haul, and what exactly does long haul mean? So in it for the long haul. What does long haul mean to you, Tom?
Well, again, since we're early stage, we know it's going to be a while. but we do avoid things like drug development that's going to go through 3-phase clinical trials and take 10 years to get to an exit. Ideally, we target 3 to 5 years to an exit. I don't think we've ever hit 3 years. But we will be in the seed. We try and help the companies then. We do have partners that we syndicate with, and that's something maybe we'll come back to in more depth of how much syndication is going on and sharing deals. When a deal goes forward, we will invest in follow-on rounds, and our theory is put a little money in early. That's best due diligence, being part of the team, getting the communication, watching for a year, and then if they're doing well, we'll invest more and more and more as it goes on and gets to that long term where these guys will come in and boost it the rest of the way, and we'll go along for the ride.
Spray and pray. Just kidding. All right. So, Shubhra, what do you think long haul is?
Yeah, we really are in it for the long haul because we come in with pretty deep pockets. It is in our interest actually to deploy a lot of capital in every investment that we make. We don't do a ton of deals. We make very few high conviction bets, and we plan and hope to be lifelong partners with those businesses essentially. And we've done this in reality. We did a Series B for a company called Q Health, which was a COVID diagnostics business, kept doubling down because the business grew so fast, so quickly during COVID, kept doubling down every round, put significant amount of capital behind it, and then handed it over to our public team to take them public. So we really are a full spectrum investor all the way from early stage to a company going public and holding on to the investment even after the company has been public for a while.
Yeah, we usually are in it for the long haul as well, usually because we're getting in at like a pre-seed or seed round. So we love it when companies exit in less than 5 years, but we're very prepared to take it much longer. Part of our investment thesis is that if it does go longer, though, we look for other mechanisms to help make it make sense. Like, for example, many times we can do investments that qualify for 1202, qualified, business stock, and essentially, avoid capital gains tax if it's over 5 years. So there's a little bit of a hedging thing there. So, but a lot of our investments, we'll be the first money in early on, and it will take significantly over 5 years, many times even closer to 10 years to get liquidity.
Katerina.
Yeah, we are probably the longest in this long haul. As corporate VC, we don't have those restrictions as a fund life cycle, 7+2 or 10% into one company. So we really don't have those restrictions. So a lot of times we are with the companies for a very long time. So think of it could be like 7 years. It can be more. So healthcare is really an industry where it takes time to get to this milestone and traction, regulatory, and go past all those cycles, plus go commercial. So being sometimes invest very early, and we are with the company for a very long time. And it's good to have different type of investors in the syndicate. Some of them can go as long as we can do. Some of them join later, so they can also ride along the way at the latest stage. But I think a lot of other VCs can be very constricted in terms of how long they go, and especially if you think of those tourist VCs, as they call them, that went into healthcare when it was hot, and then they realized how long it takes in this industry, and then they rushed away. So it's kind of not the type of investor you want to see on the cap table.
So I disagree with most of that. And my own personal experience is the longer you're in the deal as a founder or early stage investor, the more likely it is you'll get capped off the cap table, right? The most likely experience of early stage investors and founders is the last money in will be in for the shortest period of time, take the least amount of risk, and take the largest amount of profit off the investment. So certainly you shouldn't build companies to flip, and that doesn't work either. But you should build companies to achieve optionality as soon as you can so that you have some way of shielding yourself from being crammed down later on. So we look for companies that at least have a plausible investment hypothesis that in 3 years they could partner or do a build to buy or otherwise have an exit scenario that might make sense, but at least they have something other than just raising dilutive capital to go forward.
I disagree with part of that though, Alan.
Right.
Like, in terms of, yes, the last money in is taking the least amount of risk and getting out as the quickest, but not necessarily that they're making the most profit, because by that time, if everything has been de-risked and it's common knowledge, the alpha is gone. The opportunity to discover gems and be able to get in at a good price often exists much earlier, and that's really the true skill and differentiation of being an investor, when you're able to spot those, get access to those, price them well and in a disciplined fashion before they become the talk of the town and now everyone's running after them, and you may not even be able to get into that deal at that point, leave aside overpaying for it, even if you're able to get in. And so you may not be the most profitable investor, the one who made the most money. If you look at, I don't know a good really case study in the medtech world, but at least in the tech world, like the most money is being made by Series A investors, right?
Tech and medtech couldn't be more different.
Sure,
And,
sure.
and let me tell you, in medtech, no matter what we think, as you all said, you miss an FDA endpoint, you have to redo a clinical trial, you can't get reimbursement, it takes another 2 to 3 years to get reimbursement, and on and on and on. We don't have straight shots out. So, but this is the point of the panel, so let's disagree as much as we can. Will you do a safe?
No.
Will you do it?
Actually, sometimes we do, but we really hate it. The pre-money safe is a definite no, because we get no protection. Post-money safes, we're starting to hear, but many times they'll go back and demand pretty much all the added features that you can add to a safe to make it look like a convertible note, but it's a
Being
turnout.
convertible note, right?
Yeah, then it turns out to a convertible note. So
Will you do a safe?
Never say never. We have done it, but we really don't like to. We like to price the rounds, and that prevents us from doing that. So not really, not often.
Yeah, we do safes. I actually like them. We invest in a lot of companies early, but companies that are really innovative technologies that are typically getting grants, like SBIR grants. So we run into it with portfolio companies where they have, say, a convertible note, that they've invested in, and then they'll get this big grant. They'll get audited as like a phase 2 SBIR, for example, and typically, NIH and these organizations will look at that as debt. So if you don't have enough cash in the bank, your ratio will be off, and you can't take the grant money, and that's a killer. So we found that those granting organizations accept the safe as something different. We've seen the same thing for like interesting alternative financings from the state and other governments, where they'll consider their convertible debt, as more debt, and will consider safe more like equity. So we like to do them, especially for those ventures where it could make or break significant grant funding.
Katerina?
Yes,
Safes?
we do.
All right. We won't. They don't represent the risk we're taking as investors. We're not lenders. We're investors, and we don't have a fund. We're writing checks out of our own checkbook. We're not writing checks out of somebody else's checkbook. It's a lot easier to write checks out of somebody else's checkbook, but if it's your own, you're going to want a return on your money. It's simple as that.
I disagree with that too.
I can see this shaping up. All right.
I think it's a lot harder to write checks from somebody else's checkbook. If you want to be in this business,
on.
no. If you want to be in this business long term, if you want to go be able to go raise your next fund, no one's going to give you an allocation if you didn't give them a return, right? Like over time, chickens will come home to roost. So.
All right, well, let's start with you then. So when you invest in this kind of a climate, do you insist on more than a one-time preferred exit?
No.
Any other financial rights?
We will always insist on governance, so we always want to be in the boardroom.
Dividends?
Not necessarily. Rest of it is, so there are two things that we want to be a part of. One is we want to be part of setting the price, and we think we're pretty valuation disciplined, so we don't like to overpay or bid up the price. And second, we want to be in the boardroom. But everything else is negotiable. And in my experience, with most firms, that is the case. Anyone who's trying to sell you something as this is the standard that we do, they'll negotiate for the right people. So I think most things are negotiable.
Tyler, do you guys take any special rights, or is it just straight vanilla term sheets?
As with many family offices, we're very opportunistic, so totally depends. We've done all sorts of stuff across the spectrum. Totally depends. But again, we're not usually setting the terms.
So we all know it's a pretty bad investing climate. There's been a lot of speculation around. There's a lot of, pardon me, there's a lot of hope that it's going to bottom out. But what is your opinion? Are we going to see a buoyant second half, and 2025 goes back to being a real year that startups can raise capital in a normal way, or are you seeing something else?
I think that question's been asked at every panel I've been to for the last 2 years. But we'll give our answer here is, as we're preparing for this panel, I feel that two things are a little better in the early stage medtech world. First of all, we didn't go through the hype cycle as much as like pharma did during 2021, 2022, and then they fell off the cliff in 2023. Also, IPOs dried up. That made Series C really terrible, Series B pretty bad, Series A not too bad. I just went to an event last week where they talked about the statistics, and again, seed stage Series A didn't get beat down as much in the last year, and is a little bit more flat. But just in general, I think people are optimistic about this year. Maybe it's hopeful thinking, but I hope it's realistic. And there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines that has to be deployed, but venture capitalists have a time frame. We don't. So they got to be spending it sometime in the next 12, 18 months. If they're investing in Series C, that'll give exits to the Series B, and it trickles down to us at the beginning. So we're hoping now's the time to get in early, and by next year, when they get to the BC, it'll be a big step up for us, and there won't be down rounds. We won't get crammed down.
Shubhra, what about how you guys view it?
Yeah, I think it's actually much better than last year. The valuation expectations, the bid-ask gap that existed between founders' expectations and investors has closed a little bit. People are coming back to the market for more proper priced rounds, which is where we play. So it's important to us. Last year, we saw a lot of bridges and extensions and safes and convertible notes happening, which was kind of not where we play. So hopefully it'll be more active this year. As you mentioned, medtech is less cyclical than some of these other sectors, and hopefully in this year and the next, that will be in our favor on the medtech side.
Tyler?
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. We've, again, like a lot of others, have been reinvesting in current portfolio companies, but we did, start to do some new companies and have seen that really taking off earlier this year. So optimistic that it's going to be a much better year than last year.
Yeah, we have a few dozen companies in our portfolio, existing portfolio, and if I divide it into two groups, so we have medtech companies and we have digital health companies. There are some commonalities and there are some differences among the two and their fundraising needs and among the metrics that are being used to evaluate and write checks for them. So commonalities are the 2023 was, for us, it was the year of bridges and extensions. And there are probably two outliers where we closed a new priced round with our colleagues, but with new investors. But other than that, a few dozen extensions to the existing portfolio companies. So it's been very challenging, but at least it was a resource for the companies who had good investors on their cap table to go and get this financing. Unfortunately, what I see for 2024, I think even resources getting exhausted by now because we sit on the board with different type of syndicates, different type of funds, and a lot of them, as I probably already mentioned, they are at the end of their life cycle or they invested their 10% into one company, so they no longer can support this company with and writing even extension internal raises for them. So what do we want to see from the companies is even us as a CVC, although we don't have those restrictions, we are becoming much more selective what companies we are going to support in 2024. We do want to see leadership from our CEOs. We do want to see a plan. So it's no longer writing a check just to kick the can down the road. It's not like waiting for the time to turn for better times to be on the horizon. So we do want to see that they have a plan to reach the next milestone, have a plan to get to this inflection point when
Great.
they will be a better position for the next price round.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So that raises a good point. Let's follow up a bit on that. So it is a tough time out there now, whether it's going to be better later in the year or not. It's tough now. What does that mean in terms of milestone and deliverables that you're looking for? What do you want founders and entrepreneurs to do with the money you give them?
Well, first part is to survive, not go under. It's a little tougher these days than it used to be because getting the round after us is probably the most critical piece, even if they're a good company. If they can't get that $10 million Series A, a lot of them are coming back and doing the bridges, and you know, the story is stay alive to 25. They hear that. So we want them to, ideally, to go up in value for the next round. We don't want to get crammed down. So if they can get their clinical results that hit their sensitivity and specificity goals, they can get their FDA 510K or a de novo 510K. That's a big step up in their valuation, and that's what.
Do you want them to increase? Let me just add to that so you can all kind of pick up on it. Do you want them to increase their cash burn, keep their cash burn the way it is, or decrease their cash burn? Shubhra?
Is that even a question?
Shubhra, you want to?
Are you trying to let Tom out of that? I think you're skipping over that one, right?
I think it depends on the business and depends on the market dynamics. If they are in a very competitive place, if they need to spend money to complete some critical endpoints that will take them to the next inflection point and enable them to raise, then they need to do that, right? Like there is also. I agree with the survive is the first thing, but then there is also speed to market and time to market is a real competitive edge in the startup world. And there are real examples of companies that had started with great technology, but got taken over by plenty of other folks in the space who just moved faster for a variety of reasons. One of them obviously being capital, but not limited to that. So it's a fine balance. And in my opinion, it's a case-by-case judgment call for both the founders and the investors. Can't really say one size fits all for this one.
Tyler?
I think I agree with the it depends idea. I mean, I invested in a fast follower type company recently, and for them, it's all about it is largely about just speed and getting to market as fast as possible. Feels like that at least. So that one, if it feels like ramp up burn at all costs. We have other companies that, again, we've really leaned into heavy alternative financing, like certain grants and stuff like that, where sometimes it's strategic to kind of stay low burn, for example, hit these milestones. I mean, you gotta hit milestones, but do things in a certain way because you might have a multi-million-dollar grant coming through, and maybe it makes sense to kind of stretch it out a little bit and get to that point. So we've been creative and seen things there, and of course, in general, the biggest thing is just to make sure companies can survive. So we've with a lot of our companies work to make sure that it's an appropriate amount of burn, but maybe not hired that one extra person or done that one extra thing or whatnot that maybe is of questionable or marginal value given the market.
Let's follow up with family offices a bit. That's probably the biggest enigma to most entrepreneurs. Hell, it's the biggest enigma to me. And I've been trying for a long time to figure out how to find family offices and how to get them to co-invest with angels and early stage investors, small venture funds. How do you syndicate? Where do you look for your fellow family offices, or who do you syndicate with?
Yeah, I agree. I think family offices have been really, even mysterious to me. We're a relatively new family office. And back when I was more an entrepreneur, we didn't know as much about what was out there. I think the landscape is really changing. Maybe it's partly been because of the market over the last few years, but we've seen a lot of family office groups band together, work together, come out of the shadows to do deals together. and there's more infrastructure happening in terms of conferences and such for that, and connectors and kind of like Maven type people that are helping connect family offices that have similar values. We would consider ourselves to some extent kind of impact investors, but kind of not really. So when we find other family offices and high net worth angels and angel groups that have similar values, similar investment methodologies, we build the network and we do deals together, and then we do more deals together. So I don't have a silver bullet answer, but I will say it's becoming more sophisticated in terms of family offices investing together, going to certain conferences, different communities to find other family offices that invest together, and sometimes cutting out institutional investors for rounds that maybe make sense for a family family office or angel that don't make sense for an institutional investor. So we've seen a lot more sophistication on that side of things.
Any advice for the people in the audience about how to approach family offices or find them or be able to access them?
Yeah, it's, again, no silver bullet answer, but I will say, there are some conferences out there. We're kind of part of the DC finance community. There's others. You can go to these conferences and find some family offices that may invest in what you do. I know Good Growth Capital, Amy Solshauer has been like, we were on a panel together at a family office conference, and it was amazing because it was like, oh, you guys are, well, we've heard of you. We've heard of that deal. We're looking at that deal, but we've never met. So there are some families out there that do things. And like I said, sometimes there's families that are passionate about a certain area. Some of them you may know, say it's cardiovascular or pediatrics or cancer or whatever. And if you have a company that's in one of those spaces, sometimes you can find these family offices that are passionate about that space, and that could be really invaluable for your company.
How do you syndicate, Tom? You guys don't take the lead amount of money in a deal. You participate in a lot of deals. All of our deals, all Medtech deals, need a couple million, maybe $3 million to hit any reasonable milestone. How do you syndicate? Who do you syndicate with?
That's a very key point, a very key contrast. I think family offices are probably 5 to 10 years behind angel groups, credible angel groups, as far as finding each other. We know we can't do it alone. No angel group can really fill out even a seed round. So we've gotten much better at sharing deals, going to events like this. Last week I was a Medtech innovator in LA, finding each other, sharing deals back and forth openly. We're not competing with each other. We've even gotten much better at sharing a platform. You don't want 10 different groups coming to you asking you the same question for a different format. So pretty much consolidated on Dealum or Gust as a platform. You upload to one, we can share it across Life Science Angels or New Fund or Desert Angels. Also the Angel Capital Association. If you want to find an angel group, Angel Capital Association has, 120 different angel groups as members. We're a member. They are now getting much better at syndicating deals. If I like a deal, I can get it posted on a platform where every other of those 120 angel groups can go look at it, contact me, contact the CEO, and then co-invest. Much, much better.
Nonprofit, it was created by the Kauffman Foundation, Angel Capital Association, easily available online. They'll let you know who are the organized angel groups in your state or in your area, or even sector by sector. It's a super valuable source of information for entrepreneurs and early stage companies. Katerina, how about syndication from your perspective?
Yeah, so we can certainly write bigger size checks than angel investors. We still cannot do it alone. And I think the common misconception is CVCs never invest together. It's usually one CVC on the cap table. Not true. We sometimes sit on the board with 5 different CVCs represented in the same company. So we do co-invest with both CVCs, independent funds, angel investors, family offices. So all type of investors can be in the same room. We absolutely don't mind it, and we work together collaboratively. I think we are privileged in terms of building syndicates because we, as Philips, are invested in a couple dozen other healthcare funds. So we take LP positions in other funds, and this is a great resource as we need to build those syndicates. So we are looking for investors at either earlier or later stage for a company. So.
Do you guys take the whole round, Shubhra, when you're doing a later stage deal, or is that also a syndication with other investors?
Typically, if it's like super small, we may take the whole round. Generally, we're not taking the whole round. We're leading with, let's say, anywhere between 40 to 60% of the round. And I wouldn't call it syndicating necessarily, because at that point we've given the company a term sheet, we've priced the round, and then it's up to them to go rally the other investors to fill out the round. Sometimes we'll make recommendations based on folks in our network who we have had good experience working with or who we believe can add value to the company. But there is no like one partner that we have done multiple deals with and keep co-investing with. We kind of come in as, we like the company, we want to lead, here are the terms. If you agree with that, then you take our term sheet. It's up to you to go fill out the rest of the round. We'll be as helpful as we can be, but it's really up to them at that point.
So we don't know what this year is going to be. We've got a lot of thoughts and hope. What do you plan to do? How many deals would you estimate your group is going to do, and how much capital do you expect your group to employ?
Well, that's a big question for us, because we are kind of, again, the opposite extreme of a family office, which is one family had a big exit or something, has a ton of money, and will invest in a few deals. We're going the opposite direction. We actually want everybody at this conference to be able to buy a share of our stock. We're going public ourselves to raise more money, to invest in startup companies. We like the model, but we're still tiny. We're making tiny bets. We want to make bigger bets so we can help the companies more. The way we're going to get money is from all of you buying shares of our stock. So if we're public on NASDAQ, our goal is to raise $25 to $50 million. We'd like to invest in 2 to 4 companies per month, maybe 2 new ones, 2 follow-ons. And today we're doing roughly 100,000 per round, a little tiny bit. We want to get that up to like $250,000, $500,000 in the first round, and 1 to 3 million in follow-ons. And the way to do that is go public. Nothing like that exists out there. We'll see how it goes. So
Simple as that. All right. Tyler, how about you?
Yeah, just like that, going public. Yeah, interesting concept. Yeah, we're a little different, I guess, because we do less companies. So we're probably looking to not do 2 to 4 a month, but maybe that in the whole year. I mean, we've been reinvesting, and already this year have reinvested in existing companies, but we'd like to be able to do completely new deals this year. So we're hoping to do a couple. Part of that relies on what we were talking about earlier and breaking the cycle of existing companies doing, bridge round financings and stuff like that, so that we can have extra capital going to new companies. But hopefully a few.
Katerina, number of deals, amount of capital?
Yeah, we plan to do deals this year. I can tell you the number. I can only say that it depends on the needs of our business. And some years we do, 5 investments a year. Now I would probably see more like a couple investments a year at this time. But it really depends if we find something and our business is interested. It's a funnel for external innovation for them. So if we do find something that they really need to innovate, yeah, we will do investments. But think of more like a couple new investments in the new companies this year and next year, rather than some years it was much more than that.
So Life Science Angels, we last year was our lightest year ever. We typically invest about $5 million a year, and last year we invested $2 million. And that was a real collapse. And I think it was people feeling it in the public markets. And plus, if you're an early stage investor with a portfolio of 20 companies, you're going to get 20 bridges or 20 pay-to-plays that you have to deal with. So your appetite for cutting new checks is definitely affected. I see that bottoming out so far this year. It looks like more in the 5 to 8 new deals range, and as many as 15 follow-on investments. So there does seem to be some hope on the horizon. In our last 1 minute, any final comments to the audience about where they can look for money, or what the outlook is for being financed?
I can get us started. I think the days of 2020 and 21 are gone, right? Like, it's going to be harder than that. And my advice would be that just look out for stellar individuals that you want to partner with, and then figure out a way to get access to their wallet, their network, and their expertise. Whether they come in the form of a venture investor, an angel investor, a family office, a healthcare executive of a medtech company, doesn't really matter much.
I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank the panel, please.